My name is Thomas Grady, and I teach high school English in a mid-sized Maine city where everyone knows everyone else's business. At 39, I've learned that life has a twisted sense of humor, especially when it comes to marriage. My wife Elise suggested our joint account arrangement 3 years ago. All my teaching salary goes in, but she keeps her hospital HR manager paycheck separate. She called it financial organization. I called it marital communism, but I went along with it because that's what husbands do, right? It's just more efficient this way, Tom, Elise had explained, her perfectly manicured fingers tapping against our kitchen table. My salary covers my personal expenses, and yours handles the household bills. What she meant was, your money becomes our money, my money stays my money. But I'm a patient man. English teachers have to be. We deal with teenagers who think Shakespeare was a rapper from the 1800s. Elise works at City General Hospital, managing human resources with the efficiency of a Swiss watch and the warmth of a January morning in Bangor. At 37, she's still beautiful in that cold, untouchable way that makes other men wonder what they're missing. I used to think I was lucky. Now I realize I was just naive. The signs started 6 months ago. Late nights at the hospital became routine. Emergency staff meeting, she'd say, or budget crisis with the new hires. Her phone became surgically attached to her hand, face down on every surface, password protected like Fort Knox. When I joked about her running more code blues than the actual ER staff, she didn't laugh. My sister Molly works as a nurse at the same hospital. She's 35, fiercely loyal, and has an ear for gossip that would make the FBI jealous. Last Tuesday, she cornered me at our usual coffee shop downtown. Tom, I need to tell you something, Molly said, stirring her latte with unnecessary violence. I was at Murphy's Cafe yesterday, and I overheard Tasha bragging to some real estate friends about Elise having new man-shaped stress relief. Tasha is Elise's best friend, a real estate agent who treats other people's secrets like property listings. Everything's for sale to the right buyer. She's 38, nosy as a bloodhound, and has always struck me as the type who'd enable her friends' worst decisions while calling it support. What exactly did she say? I asked, though my stomach was already sinking. She said Elise found herself a doctor, someone who appreciates her more than her husband does. Molly's eyes flashed with anger. I wanted to throw my coffee at her, but I figured you should know first. Before we deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I drove home that afternoon with my mind racing. When I got there, our neighbor Mrs. Brewster was watering her garden. She's the neighborhood's unofficial surveillance system, a 70-something widow who notices everything and forgets nothing. Your wife's been working late again, she called out. Saw her coming past midnight yesterday. Must be important hospital business. Must be, I agreed, but something in her tone suggested she knew more than she was saying. That evening, I decided to help Elise with her purse when she was in the shower. I'm not proud of snooping, but sometimes a man needs answers. Buried under receipts and lip gloss, I found a conference badge from last month's medical symposium. Clipped to it was a hotel keycard for the Eastland Park Hotel downtown. The name on the badge wasn't hers. It belonged to Dr. Ryan Dorsey, emergency medicine. I knew Dorsey by reputation. 41, charming in that dangerous way that makes hospital staff whisper, and known for his workplace affairs like other doctors are known for their golf games. He's the kind of man who thinks his stethoscope is a fashion accessory and his medical degree is a hunting license. My hands shook as I put everything back exactly where I found it. 20 years of marriage, and this is what it comes to. Hotel keycards and conference badges. I felt like a detective in my own life, gathering evidence of my wife's betrayal. The next morning, I checked our joint account online while Elise was getting ready for work. The balance made my heart stop. $15,000 had been withdrawn yesterday. When I clicked on the transaction details, I saw the truth. Transfer to E. Grady Personal Savings. She was moving our money into her private account. Our money. The money I earned grading papers until my eyes burned, the money I made dealing with parents who think their little angels can do no wrong, the money I scraped together from tutoring sessions and summer school classes. Everything okay, honey? Elise called from the bathroom, her voice sweet as artificial sugar. Just checking our balance, I called back, my voice surprisingly steady. Oh, good. I transferred some funds yesterday for that new investment opportunity I mentioned. She hadn't mentioned any investment opportunity, but I didn't say that. Instead, I smiled when she came downstairs in her crisp business suit, looking every inch the successful professional woman. She kissed my cheek like she had for 20 years, and I smelled a cologne that definitely wasn't mine lingering on her skin. Have a good day at school, she said. I'll be late again tonight. Big meeting with the new department heads. After she left, I sat at our kitchen table with my coffee getting cold and my world falling apart. 20 years of marriage, and she was dismantling our life one withdrawal at a time. But I'm an English teacher. I understand narrative structure. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. This was just the beginning. I've always believed that knowledge is power, but I never realized how much power until I started investigating my own wife. The next morning, I called in sick to school, something I hadn't done in 3 years, and drove to City General Hospital. Time to do some research. My former student Adam works in the hospital's IT department. He's 29, awkward in that endearing way that makes you want to help him, and he owes me a favor. 5 years ago, I wrote him a recommendation letter that got him into community college. Sometimes investments pay off in unexpected ways. Mr. Grady? Adam's face lit up when I appeared at his basement office. What brings you to the dungeon? I need a favor, Adam. Nothing illegal, just some information. His expression grew cautious. What kind of information? Parking records, security camera footage, public stuff, nothing classified. I leaned forward. My wife works in HR upstairs. I think she might be having some problems with a colleague, and I want to help her out. It wasn't technically a lie. Elise was definitely having problems with a colleague. The problem being that she was sleeping with him. Adam's fingers flew across his keyboard. What's the time frame? Last 3 months. I'm particularly interested in Dr. Ryan Dorsey's schedule. The ER guy. Yeah, I can pull parking records, badge access logs, that stuff. Give me 20 minutes. While Adam worked his computer magic, I wandered the hospital corridors. It's amazing how invisible you become when you wear khakis and carry a clipboard. I found Dorsey's office on the 3rd floor, right next to a supply closet that looked suspiciously convenient for private conversations. Got it, Adam said when I returned. He handed me a flash drive. Parking records show Dr. Dorsey's car and your wife's car in adjacent spots pretty regularly. Weird coincidence, right? Also, badge access shows them both entering and leaving the building at the same times on 17 different occasions. 17? Yeah. And get this. 3 of those times were on weekends when the ER was fully staffed. No emergency meetings, no special events. Just them. I pocketed the flash drive. Adam, you never saw me today. Saw who? He grinned. Good luck, Mr. Grady. Whatever she's dealing with, I hope it works out. That afternoon, I parked across from the hospital and waited. At 5:30, Elise emerged from the main entrance. Instead of heading to her car, she walked around to the staff parking garage. 10 minutes later, she came out with Dorsey. They weren't touching, but their body language screamed intimacy. He said something that made her laugh, and she touched his arm in that casual way that suggested this wasn't their first rodeo. They separated at their cars, but I followed Dorsey to a downtown bar called the Brass Monkey. It's the kind of place where hospital staff goes to complain about their shifts and their marriages. I took a seat at the far end of the bar and ordered a beer. Dorsey was holding court with 2 other doctors, regaling them with stories that made them laugh too loud. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught enough. HR has its perks, Dorsey was saying, especially when HR appreciates a man who knows how to handle emergencies. One of his companions, a younger doctor with tired eyes, shook his head. You're playing with fire, Ryan. Hospital relationships never end well. Who said anything about relationships? Dorsey laughed. I'm talking about stress relief. Mutual stress relief. My grip tightened on my beer bottle. This man was discussing my wife like she was a recreational activity. 20 years of marriage reduced to mutual stress relief in a downtown bar. I left before I did something stupid. But driving home, I realized something important. Anger is just energy looking for direction. And I was about to give it plenty of direction. At 3 a.m., while Elise slept peacefully beside me, I crept downstairs to our computer. The joint account was still accessible with my login credentials. I transferred every remaining penny, $23,047, into my personal checking account. Then I removed Elise's access entirely. Before logging off, I sent her an email from an anonymous account I created. One-way withdrawals have consequences. The game has changed. A concerned observer. I went back to bed and slept better than I had in months. Tomorrow, the real fun would begin. The next morning, Elise was unusually quiet over breakfast. She kept checking her phone, frowning at the screen. Everything all right? I asked, buttering my toast with deliberate calm. Just work stuff, budget issues. Anything I can help with? I'm pretty good with numbers. She looked at me sharply. No, it's fine. Hospital business. After she left, I called my friend Rick. He teaches gym at the high school and has the kind of straightforward personality that cuts through nonsense like a knife through butter. At 40, he's seen enough teenage drama to recognize the adult version. "Tom, you sound different," he said when I explained the situation. "Good different, like you finally woke up?" "I need witnesses for what's coming next," I told him. "People who can verify that I'm not the crazy one in this marriage." "Whatever you need, buddy. It's about time someone gave that ice queen what she deserves." The pieces were falling into place. Elise thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. She was about to learn that I'd been studying the board a lot longer than she realized. The City General Hospital annual charity gala happens every October at the Eastland Park Hotel, the same hotel where my wife had been conducting her extracurricular activities. The irony was too perfect to ignore. As Elise's husband, I was automatically invited. As a man with a plan, I was absolutely attending. "I don't think you should come this year," Elise said 3 days before the event. We were eating dinner in our usual silence, the kind that had become normal over the past few months. "It's mostly hospital people. You'd be bored." "Nonsense," I replied, cutting my chicken with surgical precision. "I love supporting local charities. Besides, I haven't seen your work friends in ages." Her fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Tom, really, it's not necessary." I already RSVP'd. Told them I was looking forward to meeting Dr. Dorsey. I hear he's quite the emergency medicine specialist. The color drained from her face. "How do you know Ryan?" "Hospital gossip travels fast in a small city. Molly mentioned he's been doing excellent work lately. Very dedicated. Lots of overtime." That morning, Elise had discovered her lack of access to our joint account. She'd called the bank, called me, and finally confronted me when I got home from school. "Tom, there's been some kind of mistake with our account," she said, her voice tight with controlled panic. "All the money is gone and I can't access anything." "Really? That's strange. I moved our funds to a more secure account yesterday. You know, after I heard about all those banking security breaches lately." "What security breaches?" "Oh, you know how these things are. Better safe than sorry. I'll add you back to the new account once I sort out all the paperwork." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Tom, I need access to our money. I have expenses." "What kind of expenses? I thought your salary covered your personal costs." The trap was beautiful in its simplicity. She couldn't demand access to our money without admitting she'd been treating it as her personal fund. She couldn't explain her urgent need for cash without revealing expenses she shouldn't have. "Just normal expenses," she said finally. "I'm sure Dr. Dorsey would be happy to help with any emergencies," I said, returning to my newspaper. "That's what friends are for." The night of the gala, I wore my best suit, the one Elise bought me for her promotion celebration 2 years ago. She emerged from our bedroom looking stunning in a black dress that probably cost more than I made in a week. We drove to the hotel in silence, the tension thick enough to cut with a scalpel. The ballroom was filled with the usual suspects: doctors, nurses, hospital administrators, and their spouses. Everyone dressed to impress, everyone pretending their lives were perfect. I spotted Dorsey immediately. He was tall, confident, working the room like a politician at a campaign rally. When he saw Elise, his eyes lit up with unmistakable familiarity. "Tom," my sister Molly appeared at my elbow. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Wouldn't miss it. Elise has been so excited about this event." Molly's eyes narrowed. She knew that tone. "What are you up to?" "Just supporting local health care. Very important cause." The evening's program included dinner, speeches, and a slideshow celebrating the hospital's achievements. I'd spent considerable time this week getting to know Adam better, and he'd been very helpful with the technical arrangements. Amazing what you can accomplish when you know the right people. During the cocktail hour, I made my rounds. I chatted with Dr. Landon, the hospital chief, a serious man in his 50s who ran the place like a military operation. I complimented the nurses on their hard work. I even managed to have a pleasant conversation with Tasha, who seemed nervous around me for reasons she couldn't quite explain. "Tom, you're in such a good mood tonight," she said, her real estate agent smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Why wouldn't I be? My wife loves her job, she's got great colleagues, and she's been so energetic lately. All those late meetings really seem to agree with her." Tasha's smile faltered. "Yes, well, Elise is very dedicated." Speaking of dedication, I should introduce myself to Dr. Dorsey. Elise talks about him constantly. Before Tasha could respond, I walked away. But I could feel her watching me, probably wondering how much I knew. The slideshow began during dessert. It was supposed to celebrate various hospital departments and their contributions to the community. Adam had done excellent work with the presentation. The images were crisp, the transitions smooth, and the content was very educational. The first few slides were standard promotional material. Doctors helping patients, nurses caring for families, administrative staff managing the complex machinery of modern healthcare. Then came the section on dedication beyond normal hours. The room fell silent as images appeared on the screen, security camera still showing various staff members working late, staying committed to their responsibilities. And there, in crystal clear detail, were several shots of Elise and Dorsey entering and leaving the hospital together during off hours, including one particularly intimate moment in the parking garage where his hand was definitely not checking her pulse. Gasps rippled through the audience. Whispers started at the tables nearest the screen and spread like wildfire. I heard someone say, "Is that Dr. Dorsey?" And someone else respond, "With the HR manager?" Elise went white as a sheet. Dorsey looked like he'd swallowed his stethoscope. Dr. Landon's expression could have frozen July. "There seems to be some kind of mistake with the presentation," Dr. Landon announced, but the damage was done. In a room full of hospital staff, everyone recognized the implications of what they'd just seen. Elise stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Tom, we need to leave, now." "But we haven't seen the rest of the slideshow," I said innocently. "I'm particularly interested in the section on employee dedication." "Now, Tom." The entire ballroom was watching us. Conversations had stopped. Even the waitstaff had paused to observe the drama unfolding at table 7. "Is everything all right, dear?" I asked, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. "You seem upset. Maybe Dr. Dorsey could check your vitals. I hear he's excellent with urgent matters." That's when Elise lost it completely. "You bastard," she hissed. "You planned this." "Planned what? A nice evening supporting local health care?" She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the exit, but not before turning back to deliver what she probably thought was a devastating parting shot. "You'll regret this, Tom. I promise you'll regret this." As she disappeared through the ballroom doors, I calmly finished my dessert. Around me, the whispers grew louder. Dr. Landon was having a very serious conversation with Dorsey at the head table. Tasha had vanished, probably to do damage control. Molly appeared at my side, grinning like she'd won the lottery. "Tom Grady," she said. "That was beautiful." "I have no idea what you're talking about," I replied. "Just a technical glitch with the slideshow. These things happen." But as I drove home alone that night, I knew the real show was just beginning. Elise wanted to play games with our marriage, our money, and our future. She was about to learn that English teachers understand plot development better than most people, and this story was far from over. The morning after the gala, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. First Elise's mother Janice, then Tasha, then numbers I didn't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail while I made coffee and graded papers like it was any other Saturday morning. Elise hadn't come home. Her car wasn't in the driveway, and her side of the bed remained untouched. I wondered if she'd spent the night at Dorsey's place or just driven around trying to figure out how to salvage her reputation. Either way, she was learning an important lesson about consequences. My son Ben came downstairs around 9. At 13, he's quiet but observant, the kind of kid who notices everything and says little. He gets that from me. "Where's Mom?" he asked, pouring cereal into a bowl. She had to leave early for work. Hospital emergency. Ben nodded, but I caught him glancing at the garage door. He knew her car wasn't there. Smart kid. The voicemails were predictably dramatic, Janice demanding I call her immediately to explain myself, Tasha insisting there had been some terrible misunderstanding, a few hospital staff members expressing concern about the technical difficulties with the slideshow, and finally, Elise herself. "Tom, we need to talk. What you did last night was cruel and humiliating. I'm staying at my mother's until you come to your senses. We can work this out, but not if you keep acting like a child." Acting like a child. 20 years of marriage, and she was calling me childish for exposing her affair. The woman who'd been sneaking around with Dr. Emergency Medicine wanted to lecture me about maturity. I was still listening to messages when Molly arrived with coffee and gossip. "The hospital is buzzing," she announced, settling into our kitchen table like she owned the place. "Dorsey got called into Landon's office first thing this morning. Word is he's been suspended pending investigation." "Investigation of what?" "Inappropriate workplace relationships, violation of professional ethics, the works." Molly grinned. "Apparently, someone reported that he's been using his office for non-medical activities during work hours." "Someone?" "Anonymous tip, very detailed, included specific dates and times." I sipped my coffee thoughtfully. "Interesting timing. Tom, what exactly are you planning?" "I'm not planning anything. I'm just responding to circumstances as they develop." That afternoon, I decided to run some errands downtown. Purely coincidental that my route took me past the hospital parking garage, where I happened to notice Dorsey's Tesla parked in his assigned spot. Beautiful car, really, metallic blue, probably cost more than I make in a year, the kind of vehicle that screams successful doctor who can afford expensive toys. It was also the kind of car that showed scratches very clearly. I'd brought my keys, of course. You never know when you might need to unlock something, and as I walked past the Tesla, examining its pristine paint job, I noticed how easy it would be for someone to accidentally drag a key along the driver's side door. Hypothetically speaking. The word homewrecker looked quite striking, etched into that expensive blue paint. I was admiring my hypothetical handiwork when voices echoed from the stairwell. Dorsey's voice, angry and defensive, followed by a woman's voice I didn't recognize. They emerged onto the parking level, still arguing. "Told you this would happen?" the woman was saying. She was about 36, blonde, with the kind of cold fury that suggested she'd been dealing with this situation for a while. This had to be Marnie, Dorsey's wife. "Marnie, listen to me," Dorsey pleaded. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think." She spotted his car and the fresh artwork on its side. "And apparently, I'm not the only one who knows." Dorsey saw the scratches and went pale. "What the hell?" "Karma," Marnie said simply. Then she threw her coffee at him. The timing was perfect. Mrs. Brewster, my neighbor with the smartphone and the social media addiction, happened to be visiting someone in the hospital. She emerged from the elevator just in time to witness Dorsey dripping with coffee while his wife stormed off. Her phone was recording before Dorsey even realized he'd been filmed. "Excuse me," I called out, approaching with concern. "Is everything all right? I heard shouting." Dorsey spun around, coffee staining his shirt, his car vandalized, his marriage apparently in ruins. When he saw me, recognition dawned in his eyes. "You," he said. "Me? You did this. The slideshow, the car, everything." "I'm sorry, Dr. Dorsey, but I think you're confused. I'm just a high school English teacher. I don't have access to hospital equipment or parking garages." Mrs. Brewster was still recording, her phone capturing every word. Dorsey realized he was being filmed and tried to compose himself, but the damage was done. He looked exactly like what he was, a man whose life was falling apart because of his own choices. "This isn't over," he muttered, climbing into his vandalized Tesla. "I certainly hope not," I replied cheerfully. "Have a great day, Doctor." As he drove away, Mrs. Brewster approached me with barely contained excitement. "Tom Grady, was that about your wife?" "I wouldn't know, Mrs. Brewster. I just happened to be in the neighborhood." But she was already uploading the video to Facebook with a caption about cheating doctors getting what they deserve. By evening, it had been shared 43 times. That night, Elise finally came home. She looked exhausted, defeated, older than her 37 years. We sat in our living room like strangers, the weight of 20 years settling between us. "Tom, we need to talk." "I'm listening. This has to stop. The humiliation, the games, whatever you think you're accomplishing." "I'm not playing games, Elise. I'm just living my life." "You ruined Ryan's career. His wife left him. His car is destroyed. Ryan made his own choices, just like you made yours." She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, calculating. "I want a divorce." "Okay. I want half of everything. The house, your pension, your savings. We'll see what the court says." "Tom, don't make this harder than it has to be. I have a lawyer. I have documentation of your recent behavior, the financial manipulation, the public humiliation, the stalking. Stalking. Following Ryan to bars. Vandalizing his car. You're becoming dangerous, Tom. Unstable." I looked at my wife of 20 years and realized I was seeing her clearly for the first time. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was calculating, manipulative, and apparently willing to destroy me to protect herself. "Elise, are you threatening me?" "I'm trying to help you, but if you keep this up, I'll have no choice but to protect myself and Ben." After she went upstairs, I sat in the dark thinking about chess moves and narrative structure. Elise thought she was writing the ending to our story. She was about to learn that the best plots always have one more twist. Monday morning brought a knock on my door that changed everything. A sheriff's deputy stood on my porch with papers that made my coffee taste like ash. A temporary restraining order filed by my wife, alleging financial abuse, stalking, and threatening behavior. According to Elise's sworn statement, I had systematically isolated her from family finances, engaged in surveillance activities, and made veiled threats about consequences for her professional relationships. She was requesting exclusive use of our home, temporary custody of Ben, and immediate access to all marital assets. Her lawyer was Harold Klein, a man whose reputation preceded him like a bad smell. Klein specialized in high-conflict divorces and had a talent for turning husbands into villains. His retainer alone probably cost more than I made in 3 months. "This is quite serious, Mr. Grady," the deputy explained. "You need to vacate the premises immediately and have no contact with your wife except through attorneys." I packed a bag while Elise watched from the kitchen doorway, her expression unreadable. Ben stood behind her, confusion and fear written across his face. "Dad, what's happening?" "Just some legal stuff, buddy. I'll be staying at Uncle Rick's for a while." "But why?" "Ben, go to your room," Elise interrupted. "Now." As I loaded my car, I noticed Mrs. Brewster watching from her garden. She approached the property line with the determination of a woman on a mission. "Tom, this is ridiculous. Everyone knows what really happened." "Mrs. Brewster, I appreciate the support, but that woman has been sneaking around for months. I have video of her coming home at all hours, phone records of her calls." I stopped loading my car. "Phone records?" "My grandson works for the phone company, Family Plan, you know. Amazing what shows up on detailed billing statements." Mrs. Brewster, it turned out, was more than just a nosy neighbor. She was a retired paralegal with 40 years of experience and a grudge against cheating spouses. Within an hour, she'd provided me with a manila envelope thick with documentation I never knew existed. Rick's apartment became my command center. While Klein was probably billing Elise hundreds of dollars an hour to paint me as an abusive husband, I was learning the truth about my marriage from an unexpected source. The phone records showed months of calls between Elise and Dorsey, often lasting hours. Text message logs revealed planning sessions for their meetings, discussions of my work schedule, and increasingly intimate conversations. But the real treasure was a series of messages from 3 weeks ago. Elise: "Tom is getting suspicious. We need to be more careful." Dorsey: "Maybe it's time to end this." Elise: "No, I've worked too hard to give up now. I have a plan." Dorsey: "What kind of plan?" Elise: "Trust me. By Christmas, I'll have the house, his pension, and full custody. Tom won't know what hit him." There were more messages detailing their strategy. Document my controlling behavior, create evidence of financial abuse, establish a pattern of threats and intimidation. They'd even discuss staging a domestic violence incident, complete with photographs and witness statements. My wife hadn't just been cheating on me, she'd been planning to destroy me. Tuesday morning, I called my principal, Mrs. Gutierrez, and requested an emergency meeting. She's 45, tough as nails, and has dealt with enough teenage drama to recognize the adult version. "Tom, I heard about the restraining order. I want you to know the school district supports you completely." "I appreciate that, but let me finish. I've known you for 8 years. You're one of our most respected teachers. Your students love you, parents trust you, and your colleagues consider you a friend. If your wife thinks she can destroy your reputation with false accusations, she's seriously underestimated this community." Mrs. Gutierrez had already spoken with the district's legal counsel. They were prepared to provide character witnesses, employment records, and anything else needed to demonstrate my stability and integrity. "Tom, we've seen this before. Bitter spouses trying to use the system as a weapon. It rarely works when the accused has a solid support network." That afternoon, I met with my own attorney, Janet Morrison. She's 53, built like a linebacker, and has a reputation for eating lawyers like Klein for breakfast. "Your wife made a mistake," Morrison said after reviewing the evidence. She overplayed her hand. "These text messages show premeditation to commit fraud. The financial records prove she was the one manipulating accounts. And the timeline of her affair contradicts every claim in her restraining order. So what happens now? Now we flip the script. Tomorrow's hearing isn't about whether you're dangerous. It's about whether she's credible." Wednesday morning, the courthouse was packed. Word had spread through our small city like wildfire. Hospital staff, school district employees, neighbors, and friends filled the gallery. Even Adam from IT was there, looking nervous but determined. Klein strutted into the courtroom like he owned it, followed by Elise in a conservative dress that screamed victim. She'd even managed to look smaller somehow, more fragile. It was a masterful performance. Judge Patricia Hendricks had a reputation for no-nonsense hearings and zero tolerance for games. She listened to Klein's opening statement about my pattern of escalating abuse, with the expression of someone who'd heard it all before. Then Morrison stood up. "Your Honor, this isn't a case about domestic abuse. It's a case about fraud, manipulation, and perjury. The evidence will show that Mrs. Grady, working with her paramour, Dr. Ryan Dorsey, orchestrated an elaborate scheme to destroy her husband's reputation and steal his assets." Klein objected, but Morrison was just getting started. She presented the phone records, the text messages, the financial documentation, and Mrs. Brewster's surveillance evidence. Each piece of evidence was methodically destroying Elise's credibility. The courtroom was silent as Morrison read selected text messages aloud. Elise's face went from pale to gray to green. Klein kept objecting, but the damage was done. "Your Honor," Morrison concluded, "Mrs. Grady didn't file this restraining order because she was afraid. She filed it because she was caught, and now she's using the legal system to continue her abuse of my client." Judge Hendricks studied the evidence for what felt like hours. When she finally spoke, her voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. "Mrs. Grady, I find your testimony lacks credibility. The evidence suggests a pattern of deception and manipulation that undermines every claim in your petition. The temporary restraining order is dissolved immediately." The courtroom erupted. Klein tried to object, but Judge Hendricks wasn't finished. "Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney's office for investigation of possible perjury charges. Court is adjourned." As people filed out of the courtroom, Elise sat frozen at the plaintiff's table. Klein was already packing his briefcase, probably calculating how to distance himself from a client who'd just committed perjury in open court. I walked past her table on my way out. She looked up at me with something that might have been fear. "Tom, please." "Save it for your next lawyer," I said. "You're going to need one." Outside the courthouse, a crowd had gathered. Mrs. Brewster was holding court with a group of neighbors, probably providing colorful commentary on the proceedings. Molly hugged me so hard I thought she'd crack my ribs. Even some of my students were there, having skipped lunch to witness their teacher's vindication. But the real surprise was Ben. He broke away from Elise's mother and ran to me. "Dad, I knew Mom was lying. I heard her on the phone with that doctor. I know what she did." As I hugged my son, I realized the story was finally ending the way it should, with truth winning over deception, with family loyalty trumping manipulation, and with a cheating wife learning that some games have consequences she never imagined. Elise wanted everything in her name. Now she could keep her nothing.